Hello, welcome back. I'm Statman Dave, and today you're going to be answering the question: is Frenkie De Jong the right midfielder for Erik Ten Hag's Manchester United? Subscribe if you are new and excited. Smash that like button and check out SofaScore in the link in the description below. Anyway, it's time to dive in. For me, he's one of the best footballers on the planet. I think natural footballers in terms of, you know, he's not the strongest, he's not the quickest, he's not the most powerful, but his footballing brain is absolutely fantastic. And obviously he's played a number of different positions through his career. Obviously kicking off at Ajax, was very much playing in a central defensive midfield position, a little bit like a libero in a sense of both him and Lasse Schöne dropped off into the defence. They'd pick up the ball and then they'd carry through. De Jong was absolutely sensational in this side. Someone that would recycle, someone that would carry through, someone that would really look to drive the team into forward areas. And kind of when you're looking at what he could bring Manchester United, I think first and foremost it would probably be that position for me. If Erik Ten Hag maybe steps on that kind of 4-2-3-1 system, I think that would be a very similar role to within the Ajax team and how he's going to play. Basically kind of that roaming playmaker, a little bit like an old school libero, picking the ball up from deep, carrying the ball out of the back and driving into midfield. But fast forward to this season, Xavi's come to Barcelona and he's been using De Jong in a bit of a higher position, and I've quite liked it. De Jong previously I think was more of a 6. At the moment though, he's being used as more of an 8 for Xavi, a player that's going to get in between the lines, a free 8 in a sense of very much getting into the final third, that's going to be competitive in that area, create chances, continue with his silky dribbling, winning the tackles and so forth. I think the big thing with Frenkie is that he could be anything in football, in any position, hence why I mentioned he was such a good footballer. And I feel like that's somewhere that, again, could, if United wanted to go for that, as Frenkie is a free 8, that would work as well. Statistically, this season, Frankie's had his best season in terms of goals and assists, 3 goals and 3 assists. Most of those, though, come in after Xavi took over. But let's move on to the tactical side for Manchester United. How would Erik Ten Hag line up Manchester United with Frenkie De Jong? But the big question, I think, that we need to kind of answer is, is he the right signing? Is he the right midfield signing for Manchester United? Does it make sense? He's played multiple positions in multiple roles in multiple systems. But just for Manchester United in terms of overall, looking at the squad, I think the 2 big positions United need to fill over the summer. The first 2, look, I'm not saying this is it. I just think the striker and the defensive midfielder are the 2 most important positions. Obviously, the defensive midfielder is the most important position to deal with right now. So would Frenkie be the right midfielder for Manchester United? I think there's a number of things that we're looking at Frenkie in terms of how he would play. The first thing we could see if United do go to the Erik Ten Hag's kind of system of 2018 when they got to the Champions League final, with fullbacks operating high up the pitch, with Frenkie dropping deep to build as building a back 3, with a Fred creating this kind of midfield diamond, base of the defensive diamond, then with a kind of diamond through the middle as well. In there, the ideas of Ten Hag, it's all about that movement, that interchange of positions, the fluidity of the system, and so forth. But Frenkie very much could be that player that, is on the ball deep, that can carry through the midfield. And I think that's a really important thing. When you're looking at his statistics as well, Frenkie De Jong ranks in the 95th percentile, so the top 5% of players among central midfielders per 90 for carries into the final third at 2.49, and also progressive carries at 7.06 per game. So 7 times per game, Frankie's picking up the ball and progressively carrying the ball forward. But also, I think one of the interesting things for him this season, if United were to kind of change their structure and sign maybe 2 number 6s, in a crazy world, United buy another defensive midfielder. Manchester United could utilise Frenkie in a way where he is this kind of deep-lying box-to-box midfielder, similar to how we've seen Gravenberch play for Ajax under Ten Hag this season, where the sort of the number 8 starts in a deep position, then moves into attacking midfield and joins the same line as the number 10. You know, it's kind of this 4-1-4-1 shape we see. You know, that builds very much with an inverted fullback on the right-hand side and a back three on the left-sided with Daley Blind in there. And I think that's definitely another idea of how United could play with Frenkie De Jong, but you'd need to sign another defensive midfielder. I kind of think that's needed anyway. I think Man United need to go into the market twice in midfield to, really step up and evolve their side. Obviously, from another, part of this team and this system, and obviously with Erik Ten Hag coming back in, one man might come back into the side, and that's Donny van der Beek, which, again, it's an interesting one. Would you take Donny van der Beek back into the side? Does it, is it an effective use of Manchester United's time and what they want to do? Looking into this team right now, how it flipped round, Frenkie could sit in defensive midfield, and then maybe Donny plays that deep line box-to-box player with Bruno, or alternatively, looking at this in another way, we could see another defensive midfielder brought in, sat into midfield. You're thinking you start again that similar situation where De Jong starts deep in the build-up, moves to number 10, joins Donny van der Beek, and Bruno plays from the left. And I don't think that's not a bad option for Manchester United. I think there's loads of different iterations that you can do with Frenkie in the side. As much as it is Frenkie right now who we're talking about, a whole host of other defensive midfielders or central midfielders could play that role, and kind of utilise that positioning, that skill, and that ability. But just to give you a bit of an idea about Frenkie's numbers this season. Frenkie De Jong season by numbers in La Liga, 1,583 passes played, completed 91% of those passes, 64 tackles plus interceptions at a rate at 2.5 per 90, which is decent, 60 dribbles attempted, 85% completion, which is pretty incredible, 43 chances created, again 6 goal involvements, 3 goals and 3 assists. Just showing his overall game and how he could fit into Manchester United. I do like the idea of Donny maybe playing in this higher position. Again, how we've seen Xavi's Barcelona, they've basically very much been 2 inverted fullbacks, or a back 3 and 1, with Alves, but very much Frenkie playing in between the lines, and I could see that be a role in there. Obviously, Frankie's playing next to the great Sergio Busquets. He's not going to take that number 6 role yet, but we have seen times where Frenkie has played in that deeper role, which again would allow Man United to potentially have Frenkie as this sole-holding pivot, but supported by the 2 fullbacks that very much will have to play either as that in that back 3 position or have to play inside with De Jong. And that's the interesting side with it, that he could play that role as amongst as playing as that free 8. He's never played as a sole holder to a really top level, though. I think he's always played his best football as a DM playing next to another defensive midfielder. That Lasse De Jong partnership was fantastic. We've not quite seen him evolve in that situation, but that's not saying he can't do that. When you're looking at his defensive duels and his challenges, he's making 12 challenges per 90 at Barcelona, winning 58.5%, which is very healthy for a defensive midfielder. It's around 3% in terms of the win rate, less than Fabinho in here. So I think there's a good idea of having that in there. It's progressive passes, another big part of being a defensive midfielder, ranks in the 95th percentile for progressive passes received per 90. So that's, again, looking at his statistics if he was to play as a free 8, higher up the pitch. But I think when we'll go back to the question, is Frenkie De Jong right for Manchester United? I think there's a number of pros and cons to this. number one, played his best football under Erik Ten Hag, would fit into Erik Ten Hag's both of his systems if he stayed there. He's a controlling midfielder, progressive passer, and super composed in possession, which is everything that's missing from Man United's midfield. The other side of it, Barcelona are in big financial problems. They need to sell before the end of the season, and Frenkie is a very saleable asset. It's not going to be cheap for Manchester United. It's going to cost around 60 million. The big question, does he solve the hole in defensive midfield? I'd argue that, you probably still want to get another defensive midfielder. You probably want to bring in De Jong, but maybe play him with another DM. So it might not solve the problems 100%, but would be an unbelievable player in there. And you think maybe how he could work with a Fred, let's say, or a Scott McTominay, where you've got Fred being the energetic role, and then Frenkie very much, the guy that's progressing the play, that's getting on the ball, that's controlling things. I like that side of his game in there. If Man United were only able to sign one midfielder this summer, would it be Frenkie De Jong? Absolutely. I think the calibre of player and signing and what he could bring to United, and the biggest thing is a relationship with Erik Ten Hag. That's the biggest thing for me, that the new manager has coached this player before, has coached him to a super high level. We're talking Champions League semi-final for a club that has nowhere near the level of spending to the majority of the top European sides. That is a massive, massive thing for me. So I think Frenkie De Jong would make perfect sense for Manchester United. It's whether the player wants to come and commit to a project that isn't in the Champions League, that is in a very much a development stage, but an exciting project. I think United is a really exciting project for a player right now. And whether Frankie's the correct type of player, I think United should be going after the younger players that are going to be growing into superstars. But saying that if Frankie's available on the market for 60 million quid, you would 100% do that. 100% do that. Thanks for watching, guys. If you're new around here, hit that subscribe button. And do get into the comments if you think Frenkie De Jong is the perfect midfielder for Manchester United. I've been Statman Dave. We'll see you later.